What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I got a couple of things we're going to talk about right quick. I got a clip to show you guys of Chuck Schumer, as a matter of fact, coming out, making an offer to the Republicans that, well, we just can't refuse it, can we? Oh, no. But Chuck Schumer, He's scheming in the background, as always. You know, Democrats, they love their backroom deals and scheming off over here with these people. But, you know, Republicans do it too. But Republicans don't seem to do it as much or to the same level that Democrats are doing this because, you know, Democrats, they just don't use their brain very much. And they're making it very, very apparent right here that they are attempting to purchase your votes at the cost of your insurance premiums, as a matter of fact. Check this out, y'all.
We'd like to offer a simple proposal that would reopen the government and extend the ACA premium tax credits simultaneously, and then have the opportunity to start negotiating longer-term solutions to health care costs. Democrats are offering a very simple compromise. Democrats are ready to clear the way to quickly pass a government funding bill that includes health care affordability. Leader Thune just needs to add a clean one-year extension of the ACA tax credits to the CR so that we can immediately address rising health care costs. That's not a negotiation. It's an extension of current law, something we do all the time around here. But we also offer this. Let's create a bipartisan committee that will continue negotiations after the government reopens on reforms ahead of next year's enrollment period to provide long-term certainty that health care costs will be more affordable. This proposal reopens the government and ensures working families who are shopping right now for their health care get certainty and financial relief. While open enrollment has begun, insurers can update their rates after we pass a simple extension of the tax credits. With this approach, we do not negotiate health care in the shutdown as Leader Thune has maintained he wishes. And the American people get the tax credit extension they want. We will agree with the Republican request not to start negotiations until after the government reopens. All Republicans have to do is say yes to extend current law for 1 year. This is a reasonable offer that reopens the government, deals with health care affordability, and begins a process of negotiating reforms to the ACA tax credits for the future. Now, the ball is in the Republicans' court. We need Republicans to just say yes.
Okay, so that's just fascinating because when you think about it, hang on just a second, what comes up in exactly 1 year? Oh, the 2026 midterms, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, come on, your blatant attempts to pander to your base, to pander to the American people, your attempts to purchase our votes are not going to work. And that offer is being utterly rejected because, hang on just a second, hasn't that always been the situation? Isn't that the whole reason you guys are keeping the government shut down? You Democrats are keeping the government shut down because you want to extend these subsidies? And why do you want to extend these subsidies? Hang on just a second. That's an open admittance that Obamacare has failed. We need new legislation for medical services in this country, for insurance premiums and all the like, if you will. But that's a blatant admission that it's a failure. Right? You have to subsidize it. In other words, they got to give it a wheelchair. They got to give it crutches to keep the thing going. Hang on. Let's just re-examine this and let's destroy what we have. How about we let the market take care of its own and government just stay out of it, because government does nothing but screw things up, as a matter of fact. But hang on, you know what's fascinating about all this is Democrats, they voted in these subsidies back in 2021, set to expire in 2025. Now, those dates are interesting. Why wouldn't they just make this permanent? Why do they not ever make anything permanent? Right? We talk about this from time to time. Right? So, hang on, what was 2021? They originally did these emergency subsidies in 2021. Now, I wonder why that is. I wonder why. Oh, 2022 midterms, buying people's votes once again. And then guess what? They set them to expire intentionally in 2025, right after the election. So they could come in 2025 and negotiate for 2026 to buy your votes again, folks. And if you notice, we notice patterns around here. That always seems to be the case. They always set things just before or just after an election. Oh, that's so fascinating, folks. But it only, that's not only coming from Democrats. As a matter of fact, that comes from Republicans too. And I'm not sure, you guys know I'm a pretty big fan of Donald Trump. I'm loving what he's doing. But what he just did, it's so apparent, folks. It's just like what Chuck Schumer is doing. Check this out. Trump says Americans to receive $2,000 tariff dividend. Treasury Secretary says it could come in other forms. And at least they're telling us the truth, right? You'll see exactly what I'm talking about here. They're at least, Scott Bessent is like, look, it's not going to be another one of these checks. You're not going to get a check probably, right? And it's not for like high income earners. I don't know what the limit cutoff is. They haven't said yet. We're going to get into this. But once again, Donald Trump is attempting to purchase public support is what it seems like to me. Now, I don't know if this has always been the plan. I do remember some murmurings about this back in the campaign, when Donald Trump was on the campaign trail or whatever, talking about giving a dividend back to the American people from these tariffs. But the main objective of the tariff was basically to restructure global trade, to try to bring back jobs, and to pay down some of the debt, because we need it. But personally, I think all of that tariff dividend should go into funding the government. Hey, how about, folks, how about this? This is an interesting idea. How about let's balance the budget? How about we take everything we got and balance the budget? How about we do that and keep your greedy fingers out of our lives? Stay out of our business. Stop trying to run our lives with all these healthcare subsidies or this or that or whatever it may be. How about that? Instead, we get this. President Donald Trump said that each American will receive at least $2,000 from U.S. tariff revenues. In a Sunday post on Truth Social, Trump noted that the payments would be for all but high-income people. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone, the president wrote, seemingly attempting to garner public support for his criticized tariffs. Yeah, the Huffington Post, they're flaming the liberals, if you will, and they attribute much to the narrative machine, if you will. But I must say, they are being fair with this, because I've actually got the post right here. Let's go ahead and read that and get the context out of the way, right? People that are against tariffs are fools. Hey, I happen to agree with that. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation and a record stock market price. Now, Trump, come on, stop lying. Like, I can't stand this about Trump. He exaggerates a lot, right? Like, come on, we do have inflation. As a matter of fact, it has ticked up a little bit ever since you come into office, probably because government spending is freaking out of control. It's insane. I wish he wouldn't do that. Once again, he did an interview not that long ago saying that, grocery prices are down. They're not. We go to the grocery store all the time. They are not down. So stop lying, Donald Trump. But, it's Donald Trump. 401ks are highest ever. We are taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt, $37 trillion. Record investment in the USA, plants and factories going up all over the place. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone. Which is good, that's... It is what it is, folks. It's apparent Donald Trump seems to be purchasing approval ratings. I'm going to be fair about that. Like I said at the beginning, I'm a big fan of what Donald Trump is doing, especially with immigration right now and pretty much all over the world. He's solving wars, bringing them to an end, showing, emitting peace through strength, if you will. And I love that. Getting us back to a respected place. I buy that. A lot of what he's doing with pushing all these executive orders, right? I love that, because you can't get Congress to do a damn thing, right? The Republicans and Democrats are both intentionally keeping the government shut down for pride reasons right now, right? Like, Republicans could absolutely nuke the filibuster, right? Open the government back up, say this was an emergency situation, reinstitute the filibuster, and go on about their business. But they're not doing that, folks. And Democrats, they have these unreasonable demands that we must negotiate these ridiculous emergency subsidies to give crutches to Obamacare because, whoops, folks, we didn't anticipate this or that or this or whatever it may be that's causing these insurance premiums to go up, right? So they are just petulant children, folks, and that's who we are being ran by. As petulant children are running the government. I do not understand how people like Chuck Schumer get reelected on a consistent basis. I don't understand that at all. Trump called out his political opponents who have slammed his pro-tariff stance as fools, claiming that his sweeping tariffs have made America more powerful and wealthier. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world. Yeah, we already read that. Trump told his 11 million followers on Truth Social that 401ks are the highest ever, and the country is taking in trillions of dollars from tariffs, which he alleged will help the U.S. soon begin paying down our enormous debt of $37 trillion. Trump also alleged that record investment in the USA plans. Yeah, we already read all that, blah, 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 blah. Trump's post came after the Supreme Court hearing on November 5th, where both Democratic and right-wing justices voiced concerns about the legality of Trump imposing tariffs without congressional approval. It is not clear when the Supreme Court will rule on the tariff case. Yeah, but they always kind of seem skeptical because they need to know the particulars. They need to suss out the arguments from everybody so they can figure out what's legal and what's not. But you love how they say Democratic and right-wing justices. Like, that's a problem, folks. Like, I don't know why or when we have gotten to a point where, you know, they view the justices as left or right. They're not supposed to be either, right? They're not supposed to be. But we can clearly see a trifurcation, if that's even a thing, right? Because we have three distinct categories of Supreme Court justices, right? And which is left wing, right wing, and centrist. Yes, folks, a lot of people think that we have 6 conservative justices and 3 liberal justices. But if you look at how they rule, that is not the case, folks. We have 3, 3, and 3, as a matter of fact. And, you know, honestly, once again, it shouldn't be like that, but it is. Don't understand why. You know, why can't we have blind justice in this country? I understand humans are creatures of emotion. A lot of people wear their emotions on their sleeves. But, you know, these justices, they're not supposed to carry their emotions with them into the hearing rooms or whatever. They're supposed to just rule based upon the law, the legality of whatever's going on. And they don't, folks. Especially the liberal justices and the right-wing justices. They don't rule based on that. You have the 3 centrist justices that do. And a lot of times, because of how insane some of Democratic policy has been and some of their arguments have been, it seems like we have, 6 conservative justices and 3 liberal justices. But that's actually not the case. It's fascinating. Meanwhile, Trump has leaned on a federal law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, an unprecedented move from previous presidents to enact higher tariffs. Trump has also been using the IEEPA as a loophole, despite the fact that 2 lower courts and most judges in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit determined earlier this year the president does not have the power to do so. When asked Sunday on ABC's This Week about Trump's dividend promise, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent appeared to couch the president's so-called plans for which there is not a formal proposal. Pressed by host George Stephanopoulos for an answer on whether Trump has a definitive plan for the dividends, Bessent argued that Trump's dividends could manifest in a variety of economic benefits.
It could the $2,000 dividend could come in lots of forms, in lots of ways, George. It could be just the tax decreases that we are seeing on the president's agenda. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans. So, those are substantial deductions that, are being financed in the tax bill.
So that's fascinating right there. That kind of reminds me of, your parents telling you they're going to get you a car for your 16th birthday, and then when your birthday comes around, they give you a box and you open it up and it's an RC car, and you're like, oh crap. It kind of seems like a letdown. I mean, we're going to see how this thing comes to fruition, but him saying that sounds to me like it's going to come in the form of a tax return check, and that's kind of a letdown, to be honest with you. But I don't think that we should be getting anything. I opposed the stimulus checks that we got for COVID. I didn't think that was a good idea back then. And then Biden, he wanted to do the same thing, and he gave out a stinking stimulus check, which is ridiculous. It's just going to cause more inflation. It's going to cost the government more money, and that we already don't have the budget to do these things, right? We are already spending in a deficit to a great degree, and increasing spending is just ridiculous in my opinion. I'm kind of a fiscal hawk type of person. I think we need to balance the budget. I think our country needs to be ran like we have adults running the country, and currently it seems like we have college-age kids with a credit card that are running the country that love to throw temper tantrums on a consistent basis. That's just what it seems like to me. I don't know what it seems like to you, but you guys let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. I find it's disheartening, if you will, because these people just can't seem to govern worth a damn, y'all. They're throwing temper tantrums. They're having these ridiculous childish fights back and forth, and they're holding the government hostage currently because they want these subsidies put in place, and Chuck Schumer's a petulant child. It just blows my freaking mind that these people can't seem to act like adults. We've got the largest economy in the world, and that is waning, folks. It is absolutely waning, and these people just don't know how to make the system function properly. We've built up something amazing here, and nobody seems to know how to continue that. Just is what it is, y'all. But I think it's more or less people actually agreeing on logic. Like, let's do the job that we came here to do instead of arguing about nonsense. Like, let's balance the freaking budget. I don't understand how these people simply can vote for a bill that spends in a deficit on a consistent basis. And they have been doing this for 20 plus years, like 26 years at this point. We've been spending in a deficit every single year, and they continually vote for this. It's insane, if you ask me. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere that you can. Click that join button. Sign up and become a member. That's the best way to help this channel expand and grow, because it's just me, folks. That's it. There's no producers or anything. It's just me. I go to work every day, well, Monday through Friday. I work my 8 hours. Then I come home. I do all the research for all the news. I get all the screenshots that I have to post right up there, and I do everything. Get all the video clips. I record everything myself. I edit everything and upload everything myself. So it's one hell of a job, I'll say that. I love doing it though, so that's why I do it. But I could use a little bit of help. It would be nice, but I understand the economy's kind of garbage right now, and it'll be a while before the economy gets back rolling again, right? So it is what it is, folks. I just want to let you guys know that God has a plan for all of us, each and every one of us out there. And we may not understand that plan, but it's there, and he loves each and every one of you out there. So you guys try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.